Welcome in A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday, December the 23rd. Thanks for stopping by, hanging out, talking some shop with us. Brian Callahan asked about his job security, facing a pretty uncertain future. As the head coach of this particular franchise, we are going to talk about what Callahan had to say in response to questions about said job status. We will also ask you what if there is any identifiable place where this team is better than it was a calendar year ago. And Bert is on assignment, so there will be no, in case you missed it, there will be no shirtless Bert this evening. But that's, okay, I don't want to spoil your holiday season with a giant orange fleshy human being telling you about God knows what on a regular basis. So we'll work our way through these things together. Thank you, as always, for showing up. Amar, the first comment that I see is Amar screaming, "Fire him," with a flame emoji. Well, we can talk about that throughout the course of the evening. Clayton says the team is better at losing. That's the one discernible place that it's better. Yes, it is indisputably better at losing at this point in time, and they have become a pretty big or a pretty hollow shell of themselves is how I would describe them at this point. But that's what we're here to diagnose and kind of dissect, and there will be, to use more medical terminology, an autopsy on this team at the end of the year. Paul Guerra says, hire Eddie George. Yeah, he's winning at TSU. Let's go ahead and bring him across the street to Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. I don't know what the fix is, but I've got a pretty strong inclination that this person, Brian Callahan, is not going anywhere yet. But as we know, you've got an ownership group that makes emotional decisions. And right now, her emotions are probably not in a terribly good place. So we're going to talk about that this evening. Before we get started, I need you guys to share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll get you out of here in time for Monday Night Football between the Packers and the Saints. Retweet it on Twitter. I've just done so myself. You can share now to public in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen on Facebook Live. YouTube and Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to do the same. Maybe text the link to them if you're hanging out on YouTube, or I guess you could text the link to them if you're hanging out on any of these 4 streaming social media platforms, and we would be grateful for you that way. By the way, it is not too late to get your Sad Boy Radio hats for the holiday season. I know Christmas Eve is tomorrow. By the way, this is the last primetime show of the week, so we hope that you will enjoy your holiday season. But if you have not done all of your Christmas shopping and you need a last-minute Christmas gift, you can overnight a Sad Boy Radio hat. They are still currently 10% off of your order at rowdylou.com. We'll drop the link for you here in just a moment. Landon Fowler says Ben Johnson declined an interview with us. He knew the organization was a dumpster fire. Yeah, you're not getting Ben Johnson. This is not an attractive landing spot. It doesn't have a quarterback. There's no real even if you were a stable ball club, and I don't think that you're a terribly stable ball club. In fact, I think there's plenty. Well, I don't think I know. There's plenty of dysfunction going on in the building right now. There's plenty of unhappiness going on in the building right now. In fact, I can read directly from the text that I got from a Titans source yesterday after the game took place, where I received a message: love seeing but everyone in the building is so happy and collaborative takes. What a joke. Only happy people I see are those that they brought in and hang out in Rand's office or in the cafeteria with him for hours every day. The rest of us who know what real leadership looks like are effing miserable every day. So that is one particular source from the inside of the Titans building, which tells you everything that you need to know about the way that this organization functions right now. So I don't know who would want to take this job, even if they fired Brian Callahan. But it's not just about Brian Callahan. It's a reflection. Well, we can talk about this. We can work our way through it this evening, and we can discuss at length together the status of this particular coach with this particular team. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the aforementioned Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action. ZenSports.com is where you go, where betting just gets better. TrueMath Fitness, your first workout is free at TrueMathFitness.com. No workout ever recycled or repeated, just the best in Middle Tennessee. And of course, Two Rivers Ford is the best in Middle Tennessee. They are the number one car dealership in Nashville, according to the Nashville scene, and they are also the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. Bustin' Diamond says on YouTube, let me see if I can, the StreamYard program has updated a good deal of where everything is, and so it's making me fumble around trying to look for the proper buttons to click with Bert in the background there. He says, if they fire Callahan, they have to fire Rand. I agree. I do agree with that sentiment. If they're going to take out one, then they have to reset the board entirely, and they have to get a general manager and a coach to come in together and quit doing this thing piecemeal, where she comes in and in the second year of Ken Wisenhunt as controlling owner, she fires Wiz 7 games in. She promotes Mike Mularkey to interim, then she makes him the full-time head coach. Then she hires John Robinson. So you've got a coach who was not hired by the general manager. Obviously, Mike Mularkey has expressed his feelings about how things ended here with the owner and the coach, or the owner and the GM, quote, out to get him at the end after he won a playoff game for this franchise for the first time in 14 years. Then John Robinson gets to pick his coach. Vrabel is here. Vrabel ends up here without John Robinson. They bring in Rand, who Vrabel doesn't want. Vrabel expresses that opinion, and she picks Rand over Vrabel, and then they hire Callahan, and the wheels on the bus go round and round and round and round on this bus ride or this carousel of dysfunction that I believe your organization to be. So Amar says, sound like Amy needs to start over again. Well, that's the thing about this. Like at the core, here's what I'll say. I'm gonna tell you guys what I think that they should do at the end of the year. All right. I think that there are a bunch of different things that are going on here that will factor into my decision. I think what I think they should do versus what I believe they're going to do are currently two different things. And there is something to be said about the Tennessee Titans and the way that they operate, and just basically whomever is going to come in here, whether it be Callahan or Rand, or if they get fired collectively, whomever replaces them after the fact, they're going to have to cover up organizational dysfunction, because this is not an organization that properly functions. I think that there are very, very many flaws with the Tennessee Titans from the top down, and I think that trickle effect is what you're seeing. I think that this franchise is a direct reflection on their leadership and their ownership, and that's not Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon. That starts at the very, very top. That starts with Amy Adams Strunk, and I believe that this product that she put together, this vision that she had or that somebody convinced her to have, is a direct reflection of the business side, who decided that they were going to implement this vision and then pump sunshine and daisies into what is clearly a deeply flawed football team, and then on her herself, which is kind of where these things are at now. I understand that, the one thing that I consider to be the biggest problem at the very, very top is not something that you can do anything about, because it's her team, and that's her right. She gets to make whatever decisions that she wants. But, with Brian Callahan facing an uncertain future as Titans head coach, this is something that is going to continue to be a talking point, because I think for Tennessee, there is no necessarily clear path or easy path moving forward. It's going to be a rocky road, certainly through 2025. Troy says, just say it. Amy is in over her head, and it's going to remain like that until she sells the franchise. She's never going to sell the franchise. She would be foolish. If Amy Adams Strunk, the worst decision that Amy Adams Strunk could ever make is selling the franchise, because these things print money hand over fist. And it doesn't matter whether it wins or not. It's going to make her a shit ton of money. It's going to be in her family, I think, for the rest of the time, because she's certainly got children that I imagine that she would prefer to pass the organization down to, or her nephew, Kenneth Adams, who is also very, very much involved in the day-to-day operation of the football team. This is not leaving the Adams family hands. That's just what it is. And whether you like the fact that it's a mom and pop business or not, that's what it's going to be. So The dumbest possible thing that Amy Adams-Strunk could do from my standpoint is sell the team, because if you have an NFL team, you don't get rid of that. That's an ever appreciating asset at this point in time. So let's start here with Brian Callahan on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. In the comment section, it's your Two Rivers Ford take. What is Brian Callahan's best sales pitch to keep his job? You're going to hear from him here in just a second. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Like I said, it's your Two Rivers Ford take. Your Two Rivers Ford take is presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford is the best when it comes to making the car buying process fast, easy, and more fun. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So I see people like Titans Fanatic 78 saying John Gruden would be a great fit for us. He still has that fire. No, he wouldn't. You don't like coaches that have strong personalities. You just fired one to hire one that has the bedside manner of a doctor that you would trust. I think Brian Callahan is nicer Ken Whisenhunt to me. Because I don't have the perspective of what the full Wiz experience was here. I got here in his second year, and obviously he was fired 7 games into his second year. So, but I know I've talked to everybody in the press box. We were talking about in the press box in Indy last night amongst ourselves. I looked down the line at Kaharski and Terry McCormick, who have both been here basically since the franchise moved to Tennessee, and asked them, is this worse than Ken Whisenhunt? And they said, yes, the on-field product is worse than Ken Whisenhunt, even though Brian Callahan is a nicer person than Ken Whisenhunt is. And so that tells you everything you need to know. Just because the person is nicer than the previous sample size of an offensive-minded head coach that failed spectacularly to fix these things that he was brought in here to kind of fix, and then they ultimately made the pivot to Malarkey, then to Vrabel, and now to Callahan. Polite Ken Whisenhunt is not what you're looking for here, and that's what Brian Callahan has been so far. Now, whether or not he's going to get the opportunity to fix this is the thing that we're talking about here. So what's the best sales pitch that Brian Callahan has to Titans ownership on how this thing will be rectified? So Ethan says, we've scored 30 points multiple times this season. That's true, and that was something that you went, I think, 1,002 or 1,003 days without doing, but you keep doing it in losses. You have 12 losses on the season. Yesterday was not a double-digit loss, but it would have been your 8th had it been an actual double-digit loss. And frankly, I think of it as a double-digit loss because you were down 38-7, and the Colts quit playing, and the comeback that ultimately took place, you can credit them with continuing to play and continuing to fight if you want to. I suppose that's fine, because they were within a final play with 3 seconds left of making that a tie ball game, but they're not capable of doing it. And they let the opponent get up on them 38-7, score 38 unanswered to a team that completed 6 passes and threw only 11. They just ran the ball on them over and over and over again. And it was one of the most embarrassing experiences that you could possibly see, certainly for a Titans defense that prides itself on the mentality. They haven't been able to translate that mentality this year, but operates with the mentality of that nobody runs on the Tennessee Titans except, if your name is Jonathan Taylor, Brian Robinson, all the other Washington Commanders running backs, all the Green Bay Packers running backs. Josh Jacobs had a day on them. Malik Willis, obviously. Anthony Richardson had, I think, 70 yards rushing yesterday against them as well. But I understand why that is something that they at least have to try and manifest into the situation. But yeah, you didn't keep Mike Vrabel because he had too strong of a personality. You didn't pursue Jim Harbaugh because he's too strong of a personality. You didn't even call Bill Belichick because you didn't want to give too much control to a coach. And John Gruden is not taking another NFL coaching job without having some level of control. This was a 10-year, $100 million coach for the Las Vegas Raiders that basically operated at the level that he wanted to operate at until the league ran him out for calling Roger Goodell the P word. So apparently the priority is everybody getting along as opposed to being a good football team. And that is one of the worst parts of all of this, is that they're still all miserable and there's still plenty of infighting. There's still plenty of people who disagree in very high level positions in this organization. And they fired all the people that even made this thing even provided this thing the threat of competitiveness. So what is the sales pitch from Brian Callahan to ownership? Chris Butler says he doesn't have a sales pitch, which is why you have seen him scrambling at the podium the last 2 weeks. From the soft diatribe to the NPF example today, he is in over his head. Charles Heron says his pitch needs to be his guys at quarterback. Let him draft one or get one in free agency. Well, we can talk about that here in just a second. This is the maybe prime if they somehow get Shador. Jonathan Caverly says, what about prime? They're not getting Shador. I mean, Shador is going to be gone in the first 2 picks. And I mean, I suppose you could lose out and the Giants could win a game, or the Jaguars could beat you and give you draft position over them right now. I believe the Raiders are still higher in the draft order than you at this particular point in time. So Giants, Raiders, and Jags all holding better draft position than you right now. I don't believe that they are going to be in a legitimate position to draft a quarterback. By the way, this front office does not want to draft a quarterback. I'll tell you that definitively right now. Whether they end up doing so or not is going to be interesting, because I think that would be telling about who's actually running the show. But I've talked to multiple people that work in that front office, and they are not interested in this quarterback class. And that's a pretty common thought. They would prefer to do the stopgap quarterback method and try and build out the best possible team and pursue other quarterbacks in the future, as opposed to the current quarterback situation that they are presented with in the draft. So what is the best possible situation for the Titans, or what is the best possible sales pitch that Brian Callahan has right now? We will hear from Brian Callahan in a second, right after I remind you the primetime program made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. Get the intel edge you need to succeed with the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. All right, Brian Callahan was asked about Amy Adams-Strunk and whether he feels he is going to have to pitch for his job at the end of the year. And this is what he had to say.
You know, the best part about that is that's not my job. My job is to coach the football team and get ready to go play Jacksonville. That's the only thing that I focus on, and anything other than that is out of my control. And I do the best I can every day I walk in here. And you know, it's not for me to make any conjecture on and make any statements on. I'm just trying to coach a football team as best I possibly can and try to get a win against Jacksonville.
Do you expect you're going to have to make a case to her when this is over?
Yeah, I have no idea. We talk regularly, and we have conversations about all the things that go on. So, don't know.
Was folk?
I mean, you don't envy the guy. It's a really tough spot to be in. So the best sales pitch, C-Rich says, some of these questions you guys expect him to answer. There isn't a right answer, LOL, and he sure as hell shouldn't pitch it right now. No, it's completely fair, right? Like but we're 2 games away from having that conversation, and all of our questions are basically hinting at it. And he's the most front-facing member of the organization. That's the way that it is for every NFL team. The coach speaks far more than the GM, certainly more than the NFL ownership groups ever do, if the NFL ownership groups ever do. The only sales pitch that he has, really, from my perspective, is that they have a quarterback who has turned it over at an exorbitantly high rate, and they basically had a mandate to start this quarterback, even though Brian Callahan, I think, has been done with Will Levis for quite some time before they actually put him on the bench. Now, he was non-committal on the quarterback situation, though he did say that Mason Rudolph, you know, and I'll paraphrase here, but essentially he said Mason Rudolph played relatively well, which is a tough thing to sell when you look the way that you did and your offense sputters the way that you did. But we understand that there were a variety of different contributing factors that caused them to go nuclear. The biggest thing that he can say is, well, if you take away the league-leading turnovers, and they are leading the league by a considerable margin in turnovers, and their quarterbacks plural, have also contributed at a very, very high rate to the turnover margin that they are worst in the league at, then with some level of stabilization, this could potentially be closer to a 500 team. But it's a flawed sales pitch in and of itself, because remember, 6-11, according to Amy Adams-Strunk, was unacceptable. If this team gets closer to 500 or even below 500, that's an improvement on what this team will do this year, because they, if they finish with 4 wins, that, I bet that they win. Actually, I don't know. I can't say that. I thought they were going to give the Colts a game yesterday, and they didn't even come close. Really, they didn't even come close. So I can't say with confidence that Mac Jones's Jags won't sweep them, or that the Houston Texans, even though they're limping right now and they're in bad spot, it sucks for Tank Dell that he's done for a year, a dislocated kneecap and a torn ACL at the same time, and still managed to catch the touchdown, by the way. I mean, to Tank Dell's credit, that was a really, really impressive thing, even though it ended in a season-ending injury, and one that will, I think, be difficult for him to ultimately rebound, because he's missed a good deal of time at this point in his NFL career. There's nothing to tell me that this team is capable of winning even one more game. So we do expect him to answer these questions, because he ultimately has to answer for the football team, and the football team is a catastrophe. Without twisting the knife further, because I know you guys understand how bad it's been, and I don't want to make you feel worse about how bad it's been, but yeah, man, I think that this is complete, and this is a complete and total failure across the board. And I think it's more reflective of leadership. Now, he can't walk in there and be like, well, you're the problem here, Amy, and expect to keep his job, right? Even though I think that might be the most reasonable explanation for why this situation looks the way that it does, because the people at the top who are responsible for trying to make this thing function don't have a good grasp on how to make it function at this point in time. I think that for Callahan, it has to be, well, you've got to give me another opportunity to get a quarterback right. But the quarterback options aren't going to be good. I mean, for those of you that listen to the 615 Sessions podcast on Friday with PK, Paul Kaharski was on with me, and we talked about quarterback options, and both of us talked about the idea of Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the thing that is most likely by percentage chance to happen here, if Derek Carr wants to come here. Now, he worked with Brian Callahan before. Apparently, they have great respect for one another. And Derek Carr, you could do a lot more. I know that doesn't, appeal to you necessarily, because many of you want to, tank for whatever player or whatever quarterback you think is going to make more sense in the draft. But a rookie quarterback does not do well here. Like, they are not equipped to support a rookie quarterback, even if you want a rookie quarterback. And I get why you want a rookie quarterback, but that's not a good option to me at this point in time. The thing that makes the most sense, the thing by percentage chance is the most likely to happen, they are going to have to make a decision here on the quarterback availability, because it's going to look between 36-year-old Kirk Cousins. Derek Carr is for sure in his 30s. I don't know his exact age, but he's coming off a hand fracture. And I mean, they could call Ryan Tannehill. He's still hanging out here locally. I know his kids are still in school here in Nashville. So you could hope that Ryan Tannehill's bored enough to take a job and come back to this franchise, even though if I was Tannehill, I'd look around and be like, are you out of your mind? Absolutely not. You guys got me killed the last 2 years that they were here, and that's what it was. Troy says, what's wrong with Rudolph? His numbers weren't that bad. Yeah, but I mean, Mason is a quality backup quarterback. He is not an NFL starter, and all 3 of those players that I just mentioned are NFL starters, even if they're on the decline at this point in time. So with everything that's happening, Amar says, I'd rather have Carr than Jameis. Well, there is the thing that makes the most sense with Carr is they've worked with one another before. So if Brian Callahan is trying to show that it's not his fault that they suck out loud, that it's simply the quarterback's situation and the turnover situation brought on by the quarterback that has put them in such a deep, dark hole at this point in time, then you would probably, if you were Brian Callahan, feel the most comfortable with the player that you have worked with, even if it's been some time since you worked with them. They were still the Oakland Raiders when last Brian Callahan and Derek Carr worked together. So Landon Fowler says Kirk Cousins is washed. Yeah, I know, but you guys don't have options here. You do have options. There will always be options, but you don't have good options here. There is no fix in 2025. You're just trying to survive in 2025. There is not going to be, if there is an appreciable jump, if they win 4 more games next year, that's still 7-10. You know what I'm saying? And I was told, or in the statement that Amy Adams Strunk passed down from on high when she fired Mike Vrabel, it specifically said it's not enough to just win more games than you lose. Well, they don't win games. They don't win games hardly at all. They've won 3. And you can even dispute the merits of the 3 wins that they have at this point in time. The only win that feels real is the Texans win. So I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know how she's going to handle this. All I know is that Brian Callahan's best sales pitch is, yeah, let me get Derek Carr because I know I can work with him. I've done it before. But even then, what's your offensive line situation look like? What's your skill talent look like? Do you have a pass rush next year? All of these are questions that I truly can't answer for you at this time. Zach Geringer says we need Sanders or Ward. Again, I say to you, your front office does not want to draft either of those players. They would not be quarterback 6 in last year's draft class. They would be below Bo Nix in terms of proving commodities. And if you don't like the shit that Will Levis does on the field, even though Cam Ward is a significantly better college quarterback than Will was, you're going to go crazy if you have to deal with Cam Ward and his proclivity to turn the ball over and some of the ways that he turns the ball over, because he's got a lot of this bleeping to him that Will Levis had to be significantly coached through. Brian Callahan needs a quarterback that is a timing and rhythm passer. And I saw a great clip from Fields is also not a Brian Callahan type of quarterback. Justin Fields does not operate on a timing and rhythm basis. He does not keep the offense on schedule. That's why he got benched for Russell Wilson. And if I was Pittsburgh, I'd bring him back, to be honest with you. At this point in time, shit, if I was Justin Fields, I'd rather be in Pittsburgh on a winning football team than to come here in Tennessee and try and, just survive, even if it came with a little bit of a bigger paycheck. Sanders is perfect, says Benjamin Buck. No, he's not a perfect prospect. Again, he's not even Bo Nix. So I don't know how you could. There is no such thing as a perfect prospect. You can have the number 1 overall pick and you can still get it wrong. You can have the number 1 overall pick and have them spiral a little bit and then end up being better somewhere else. Like Jared Goff is a great example of this. It didn't work when he got drafted to St. Louis, then LA. Jeff Fisher got fired. They brought in a McVay to help get him to a point. Then McVay got tired of him and moved into Detroit. Now Jared Goff, who plays with timing, rhythm, precision, and accuracy within the offense, is with the perfect coach for him. Ben Johnson would not work well with Will Levis because Will Levis is not that kind of timing, rhythm, anticipatory thrower that Jared Goff is. That is a player that has a little more erratic nature to him and is going to need a different type of offense that presents easy completions, which Greg Cosell has told you many, many times over, if you listen to the Install podcast, that this offense does not present. So Brian Callahan has to get a quarterback in here that's going to work with him. Ward is not that. Sanders is closer, but Shador is not. Shador cannot turn this thing around. At least as a prospect, he would not be quarterback 6 in last year's draft. And you're fool if you actually think that that either of these prospects are good enough. It's not the 2022 class, which was Pickett and Ritter and Willis, but it's not much better than that. And I think that should be as much warning as you need. And, again, I'm telling you, your front office, I've talked to multiple people in your front office, in your scouting staff, around your coaching staff that have said they are not interested in these 2 quarterbacks. If they draft one, it's because ownership told them that they need to draft one at this point in time, because that scouting evaluation process, and that's a pretty consensus opinion league-wide at this point in time. So no, you are not equipped. Again, I say to you, you are not equipped to handle a rookie quarterback. That's just not what it is. With everything that's going on right now, Brian Callahan, there's a very, very high percentage chance that he's still your coach next year. So now how much further into next year he's your coach? I don't know if he makes it a full second season. I don't know if he doesn't get fired halfway through. If things start to work their way down, Zach Geringer says Shador Sanders' name and his stats. Okay, if your analysis is, look at his numbers, then immediately I'm not going to say that I don't care what you have to say, but like box score scouting is like saying that Blake Bortles was one of the more effective passers in the league the year that the Jaguars went to the AFC Championship game. Just because the Jags trail a bunch and Blake Bortles had a bunch of statistics does not make Blake Bortles good. So if you are somebody who scouts via box score, I don't trust you. I don't trust your opinion because that's not actual football. It's just numbers. Counting stats do not equate to good football player. Counting stats can mislead you in a number of different ways. That's nonsense. You need to be better than that, and I think that most of you are. So, with everything that's going on right now, the second question that I'm going to ask you is this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section, name one place where this Tennessee Titans team is better from last year. Let me know. We'll talk about it together. If you can identify a place that is better, I will give you one where I think it is improved. And this may alone be enough to make some of you want to keep Brian Callahan if you were on the fence about it at this point in time. What is the place on the Titans roster that is definitively better than it was in 2023? We will ask or we will discuss at length together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports, who presents you with this great offer. Zen Sports is always the best place for you to bet using that promo code ATOZTN, but they also provide you with great opportunities, like the opportunity to attend the college football finale this year in Atlanta. They are going to give you the big game sweepstakes for the college football tournament with a grand prize of $10,000 cash and 2 tickets to the biggest college football game of 2025. If you don't win the grand prize, don't worry. You'll also have a shot to win one of 10 smaller prizes, which grants you $1,000 cash towards any college playoff game in 2025. So what are you waiting for? Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for a full list of rules and earn a $100 no danger wager on your first bet. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. No danger first wager limited to plus 500 odds. To qualify, terms and conditions do apply. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. What is one place on the Titans roster that is better in 2025 or in 2024 than it was last year? Skip Cutrone says running back. Is that a real answer? I don't even know how to respond to that. Are you being sarcastic? Sarcasm doesn't come through. Skip, I don't want to, I don't want to bury you if you're just being sarcastic about that, but I do not know how to respond. So I'm just going to move on because that is one of the first. That's one of the first times that you guys have actually stopped me in my tracks. Punter, says Troy Spinagle. Yeah, I mean the punter's healthier, so I guess he's made it through the bulk of the season, which was not the case last year. So I guess even though he's not, Stonehouse hasn't had a great year by his standards, but he's been been fine. Cole Redmond says they've scored 30 points 3 times, which that's so, but you have 12 losses and only 3 wins, and you're scoring 30 points in losses, which is not something that I thought would be the case. Nicholas Davis is cornerback. Yeah, they don't play. Are you actually better at cornerback? McCreary was here last year, so you can't tell me that Roger McCreary is better. Roger McCreary has just been good since they drafted. He's the only top 100 pick out of the 11 top 100 picks that John Robinson had in his last 3 drafts that has turned into a viable player. I'll hear you out on Tavondre Sweat. Even though Tavondre Sweat is better than checked out. I'm blanking on Tier Tart. And Tier Tart was when Tier Tart was playing well, which was not last year. Tier Tart was a good player a couple of years ago, but then got lazy, and now he's playing good football again for the LA Chargers. So that's certainly something to take note of. But yeah, I'll grant you Sweat. Sweat is better. Concession stands, says Jody Newell. They have Hattie B's, which in the Nissan Stadium concessions, which is obviously an upgrade. Nicholas Davis says Brownlee. He's fine. He's good for a 5th round pick for sure. But are they better in pass coverage? Brownlee's been solid. I wouldn't necessarily say good outright, especially with the rate that he's penalized at. Steve Manning says IU alum Nick Westbrook-Akina making the best of his opportunities. Yeah, NWI is having a good year, to his credit. But NWI's been here, and so NWI was reliable last year. He was reliable this year. Jonathan Caverly says of Tart, but again, this is last year. Last year, Tart did not get to the quarterback. Last year, Tart got cut. So Sweat is an upgrade over Tier Tart because Tavondre Sweat is not checked out. He's just not as effective as a pass rusher as T.R. Tart when T.R. Tart was motivated was. Johnny Chiefer says left tackle for sure. You are better at left tackle. Even if Latham's had an up and down rookie season, and that's the case for most rookies, you are definitively better left tackle. I'd say the left side of your offensive line is the thing identifiably, because Bill Callahan is here. The left side of your offensive line is the thing that I can definitively tell you is better.
Because I like football, I'd like to see my team play. It's an interesting question because I've never really thought about that, but I understand we're not where we need to be right now, but in my opinion, if you're not going to be with us right now, then when we're better and when we're doing better, don't pretend to be with us then either. So I appreciate all the loyal fans. I know there hasn't been much to root for, and it's been rough at a lot of times this year, but yeah.
Why has it been so hard to consistently put it together when you guys feel like you get something going, whether it's in one phase or another, just something, it feels like a bottom falls out?
It seems like we live and die with little mistakes, and we let sort of one thing kill us, and it takes forever to get out of it. I think we just got to mature as a group, individually and as a group, to kind of push through the little things that go wrong and keep going. But it seems like every little thing that happens, all right, it turns into a mudslide.
Do you guys feel like you're adequately prepared in these situations?
I do. I mean, I do think I don't feel unprepared or anything. Obviously, we see a lot of run pressure and stuff like that, but I do think we're prepared and we can adjust. It's just a matter of executing in a lot of ways, and that hasn't been there.
You guys score early, you get the interception.
So that's Peter Skoronsky. Yesterday in the locker room with us in Indianapolis, Mike Bell says ultimatum to the fan base is hilarious. Well, I mean, in his defense, he was asked a question: would you buy a ticket to the game? And what else? I mean, to the last game that the Titans have at home, which I don't know what that's going to look like, honestly. Especially, God knows if they lose to Jacksonville, what that might look like. But, I get what he's saying in principle. It's just a tough spot, and he's not giving you an ultimatum. I just think that Peter's answering. There's no good answer to that question, and I kind of feel for him on that. He was put in a tough position there when he's being asked, hey, if you were a fan, would you buy a ticket to this? What else is he going to think? No. I don't think there is a good answer to that question. So he's just in a tricky spot. But the left side of the offensive line is better. I think one of the best cases to keep Brian Callahan is you keep his dad. You have, I think, an offensive line coach that has made you better. Your right side is bad. Your right side has to go. I think you need a new right guard. You need a new right tackle. Sucks for Dylan Radins that he was just starting to level out, play at least consistent football, but he's still not good enough. And obviously the right tackle situation is a nightmare. They're in a really bad place on the right side of the offensive line. So with everything that is going on right now, I do think that the left side of the offensive line is significantly better than it was, and that's to their credit. It's not everything, and obviously it's not good enough to do more than 3 wins, but that's where it is. Richard Jr. says Tennessee Titans need to win. Trust me, Titans need to beat the Jags 27-24 with some defensive help. Okay. They lost to the Jags 10-6. They didn't score an offensive touchdown in that game. So yeah, I mean, maybe. And divisional games, what's happened the rest of the season does not impact divisional games. Divisional games, literally, and I know it's a cliche, you throw the record out. Because those things are highly competitive, no matter how bad the teams are, and these are 2 bad teams. But I mean, yeah, sure, they need to win, but are they capable of winning? I don't think. I wouldn't bet on them, but you can if you want to. You're not going to get that kind of betting advice from me. No, in case you missed it tonight, because Bert is on assignment, so we appreciate you guys hanging out here. That was so awful. Yes, just because you can't see him doesn't mean he's not there. I'll leave you with this really quick before we get out of here. That True Math Fitness in the Gulch is your best place to work out. Holiday season, you're packing a little extra weight around the middle. TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. They're the best workout anywhere in Middle Tennessee. They're there to help you. No workout ever recycled or repeated. I'll say this, and I said it last night, but this is the last primetime show of the week. So hope you guys have a great holiday. Radio show is going to be on tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So you're not done with me entirely if you want more of this. And we'll probably do a 615 Session podcast on Friday because, I'm still going to practice and I'm still covering a game on Sunday. I'll still be in Jacksonville on Sunday for this game. But I always appreciate the way that you guys show up. Thank you guys, as always. Very grateful for you. Very grateful for your support, the way that you support A to Z as a company, the way that you support the Primetime Show and the 615 Sessions podcast, the way that you guys support the radio show and all of these different things. I know that I wear on you sometimes, and that's completely fair because God knows at 3-12, I'm wearing on myself. But it doesn't go unnoticed. And even though my tone probably connotes ungrateful more often than it should, I am eternally grateful for the opportunity to work for you guys on a regular basis and to do this show and all the other shows that A to Z and 104.5 The Zone allow me to do. So thank you very much for that. Have a great holiday season. We will see you. I'm not going to read that comment by William Jones, even though Bert has highlighted it and it made me laugh. Bert throwing it up on the screen anyway. Yes, he is probably God knows he's probably naked. I don't know if he's actively pleasuring himself, but we will hope that is indeed not the case as we send you on your way for a very happy holiday season. And I will talk to you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. See you guys there.
Go home!